Welcome to another edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Marikas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Pete Shinnick. And, Coach, coming off a bye week, how does that affect the players?
Yeah, I think you'll find out come Saturday how it affects them. So we took the approach of, win or lose in our last game. We had a schedule set for what we wanted to do last week. We knew what we wanted to get done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was fall break on campus, so Friday we gave them the weekend off. We got back Monday, had a great practice Monday, so I liked our energy. I liked our enthusiasm. So, so far I feel good about what we were able to accomplish last week and then how we started this week. As you go, though, how does, what does it look like? I mean, as you build practices, does that energy keep coming? Does that, does the 3 days off, help them, hurt them? I've always looked at a bye week as, okay, you got some sort of minor injury and we're not going to play you. So you practiced all week, but we had a minor injury, we're going to keep you out. And that's kind of the approach taken. You just do that with 100 guys as opposed to one or two.
Now, obviously, this week is just like a normal week because you have a game. But how does practice differ the week of the bye? Do you change things up? Do you try to work on specific things that maybe you wouldn't work on during a game week?
Yeah, you really do. So, I think both sides of the ball went back to some fundamentals, some basics of things that we needed to get done, certain approach to, how we're lining up or, what formations offensively do we need to work on to get different plays out of. So you take a basic, I need to work on my foundation, and then you go, okay, we just got to keep getting better. And so we had 3 really good practices for our special teams, so we were able to hit kind of all phases in special teams that needed to be hit. And then we did some great competition of Towson, what we say Towson versus Towson, best versus best. We did that, so that's a little different for the amount of time and the number of plays that we ran on a Tuesday and a Wednesday against each other. And then we were still able to scout and get ready for William and Mary. So it's really kind of a 3-phased approach. What do we need to work on? How do we compete against each other? And then getting ready for the William and Mary game, taking the additional time. I mean, they're one of the top teams in the country. We need as much time as we can get to prepare for them.
And they also coming off a bye. Now, your coaches, I know you went to a couple of high school games this weekend. Do they also go out and is this kind of like, well, we can really take advantage of this weekend off?
Yeah, it's a great timing for us because there was a lot of good games that we wanted to see, and there were a lot of guys obviously playing in those games that we felt like when we looked at our bye week schedule and said, okay, can we get out? Where can we go? I think we ended up getting to about 23 or 24 games over the weekend. So some guys were out Thursday night, some guys were out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, some guys were just out Friday and Saturday. So wherever there was a game within our area and someone that we were interested in, it worked out well to evaluate them. So really, when does the bye week come? When is a good time for it? This worked out well for us.
All right, now William and Mary this week. Tribe came in. They were the favorites to win the conference coming into the season. They're 4-2, won their first 4 games, then lost a conference game to Elon, then losing a tough one to Virginia. They also coming off a bye, so guys that have minor injuries for both sides are going to feel better than they did 2 weeks ago. But this is a team that really is good defensively. They're only giving up 240 yards a game, and much like we talked about with Albany, they give up less than 100 yards a game on the ground.
Yeah, and very similar, I think, structurally, the front 7 do some things a little differently on the back end than Albany does. But really, 2 really good defensive ends. We've talked about that, it seems like the last 3 weeks, but their DNs are, top in the conference in sacks, just like Albany's were. They do a great job of tackles for losses, which is really what limits everybody's running game against them. You may pop one, but 2 or 3 plays later, they're going to get you for -5, -6, as they continue to pursue. Probably the soundest team that we've seen just across the board, special teams, offense, defense, everything together. They make very few mistakes. They know their defense is really good. They play the game knowing that their defense is very good, so they don't have to take many chances, don't have to go outside the box offensively. from a play calling on 4th and 3 or something like that. But from a defensive standpoint, we'll be challenged, and it'll be a lot like Albany. I mean, we got to be dialed in. We got to be right every time we do something, or we'll see the problems.
Running backs, Yoder was averaging 5.5 yards a carry. He hasn't played the last couple games.
Yep.
Don't know what his situation is for Saturday. And then McCochie, he's averaging over 6 yards a carry. But then the quarterback, Darius Wilson, adds another dimension because he can throw or run.
Yeah, they're really a plug and play kind of offense. I mean, I think you can see as many as 4 or 5 people since Yoder's injury. You know what I mean? And you'll see different sets, and they were doing some 21 personnel. Now they're doing a little more 12 personnel. They're doing some things a little differently with their tight ends. They will get to some way to run inside zone, some way to run power. With that being said, I think they disguise it well. You're going to see, different gadgets out of them, different reverses, different ways to attack you. But I think they're running the ball much better than they're throwing the ball, but that's because they can and they control the clock. So whether Yoder's back or not, I mean, we'll see. But with that being said, whoever they put the ball in their hands, I mean, they find creative ways to get them in space and get them yardage.
What are the main things you'd like to see improvement from this week over what you've seen the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, we've been in 3 of our 3 home losses. We've been in every game, and so I want to see us be a smarter team and a more disciplined team. We've had some 15-yard penalties that have been extremely poorly timed and extremely frustrating to watch because we've talked about it a lot. And it's something that we're trying to work on. So I'd like to see our guys play with aggression, but control their emotions and control that aspect of it. Obviously, we've turned the ball over in those losses a couple times. We got to be error-free in holding on to the ball. And then I think defensively, really, when we have opportunities to get our tackles for losses and our sacks, we got to hold on to them and make it work. So we need a complete game. Really, I think the rest of the season, this is a great start. Coming back off the break, playing what I think is one of the best teams in the country. If we can solve our problems in this game, then I'm excited about moving forward.
Nate Kent, how have you seen his development through the year?
Yeah, I think he's gotten better. I think he's a much better quarterback than he was against Maryland. And I think he's, learning how to manage a game and learning, what to take and how to do it. I think for him to get to the next level, there's probably 3 or 4 plays in every game that he'd love to eliminate and he'd like to get rid of. And we're going to need him to do that. So, I think his decision-making has been solid. He can make a couple better ones through this process, but I like how he's progressed. I like what he's been able to do. I think he's found different targets in different games depending on what people are giving them. You've seen Carter catch a bunch of passes. You've seen, Lucas catch a couple passes here and there depending on what game it was. You saw DK before his injury. So, I like how he's seeing things and distributing the ball. He's just got to continue to improve.
On the defensive side, you had the loss to Albany, but I thought one of your best defensive games overall.
Most definitely, and to hold anybody under 300 yards, I think is a great feat. And so to do that to that Albany team, I feel like that's a great accomplishment for our defense. And, with that, I still think there's areas they can clean up. And so I still think there's areas that they can improve upon. And so you go back to back, you go New Hampshire, Albany, and it's like, okay, New Hampshire probably one of the better offenses. Albany a pretty good offense. So for us to contain that offense at Albany, feel like, all right, we're making the right strides. We're going to have a similar task, I think, this weekend with William and Mary. They're not as explosive and dynamic, but they're elusive and they're creative. And so we're going to need a University of Albany defensive effort out of our guys if we're going to be able to stay in this game.
All right, Coach, we wish you the best on Saturday. Game time is 3:30. Gordy and I will have it for you on TowsonTigers.com starting at 3:15. So for the head coach of the Tigers, Pete Shinnick, I'm Spiro Marikas. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Tiger Football Report.